At the Premier League standings, Liverpool held to a 2-2 draw at Aston Villa, and it might have been a game, however, which would have seen the Reds win because there was that big miss from Darwin Nunez. It was an open goal. He missed it. It ended all square. And here we were in the studio and in our gallery where we view the games, wondering, how's Stevie holding up?
Not surprised. It's not a surprise. You know, the one Jota had in the first half, I was like, is this Nunez in disguise? That was the first thing that came to my mind, because I was so shocked. But when Nunez did this, I wasn't shocked. Disappointed. Couple of words at the TV. But in the cold light of day, not surprised. You know, he when he's been getting in these positions, doesn't have the composure to see the big picture, to have things slowed down, to make the right decision, to try and finish in a particular way that will end up with the ball in the back of the net. You know, the best strikers, when I talk about composure, I'm talking about the picture that they see. Everything is clear, and they've summed everything up. The pace of the ball, where is it coming? Is it going to be slightly behind me? Is it going to be slightly ahead of me? You know, do I need to use pace when I'm shooting, or do I use the pace of the ball just to guide it in the net? Great strikers, all of these things are going through their head like a computer, and then they make a decision, and then they score. Darwin Nunez is the opposite of that. He's trying to figure out how much pace is on the ball. Do I hit through the ball? Do I use the pace? I mean, and then the goal itself becomes blurred. It's not clear. So that's the difference between Nunez and a Haaland, for example, or a Mo Salah, because they see everything clearly and they can decide and make a decision, and the ball ends up in the net. Nunez, it's a toss of a coin because he just doesn't quite see the picture.
Have you got any concerns about Liverpool? It could have been 10 points. It's 8 at the moment, and they played a game more than Arsenal.
If Liverpool beats City at the weekend, I think Liverpool wins the title. I think there's no question. You know, everybody's been talking about, is it a point gained or is it a point lost? Well, I can see how you could push it towards a point gained. You know, Aston Villa is a team that is probably, in my opinion, going to be in the top 4 at the end of the season. So to go away there and play the way they did and get a point is another point to the total. But at the end of the day, when you create the chances that Liverpool did, and in certain points of the game, it was in their hand. You know, when Jota makes that miss in the first half, that puts Liverpool 2-1 up. I think that totally changes the second half. It certainly changes the score at half-time, because I don't see Liverpool losing a goal. They have to come out in the second half and open up and play away from home at Aston Villa, and it becomes an open game. Yes, they get the equaliser, but then they're trying to win the game from there, as is Aston Villa, which is why it ends up being a great game to watch. And if Darwin Nunez puts that in the back of the net to make it 3-2, again, I think the game changes. Liverpool would have slowed the game down, taken the heat out, kept the ball and tried to dominate possession. And in the end, they didn't get that goal and they had to keep going forward. And the game ended up being an open attacking game. So, listen, I think it's 2 points dropped because it was in their hands. And if something's in your hands and you don't take it, then it's down to you. So it's 2 points dropped.
I think the point feels a whole lot worse than it actually is. And for a few reasons. One, the chance is missed. Secondly, I think you go 10 points clear of Arsenal, even with a game in hand, just psychologically chasing Liverpool 10 points behind. You see that, you don't really, if you're an Arsenal player, you don't really see the game in hand. The old cliche, you know, better to have the points than the games. It just feels a whole lot different. And then kind of given the run, and I say run in inverted commas with Liverpool that they're on, because again, you say run, but it really hasn't been that bad. You lose in the cup to
Plymouth.
To Plymouth. You lose in the cup to Plymouth. All change side. You concede very late on against Everton. You beat Wolves, but you're kind of hanging on. As I spoke after that game over the weekend, it felt like Wolves were about to score. And then this drop point. So while, you know, altogether it's really not that bad, it just feels a whole lot worse. I think as well, while, yes, it does, again, feel like a stumble. Arsenal have this issue where they don't have a striker. Mika Marino came on to very good effect. That was against Leicester City. Before his introduction, you really struggled to see where that goal is going to come from. Can that be sustained over the length of this tight run-in for Arsenal, at least until Bukayo Saka comes back? I'm not overly convinced. So it may prove to be nothing, but just as we sit right now, it just feels a whole lot worse.
Yeah, ahead of that game at the weekend, Mark, between Liverpool and City, who is it more important to?
Big question. I think it's more important to Liverpool, because I still think that City will finish top 4 or even top 5. Top 5 will be good enough for Champions League in the Premier League this year, because the Premier League's so far ahead of the other leagues in the coefficient. So I think City can get away with not winning this one, but I do think that there's so much bad blood on the City part, really, towards Liverpool over the title race over the last few years, that they'd be desperate to, one, bounce back from Real Madrid last night, and also kind of, try and stop Liverpool's title charge. So there'll be a lot of motivation on City's part, I think, but I think Liverpool need the win more. But I do think that I've seen a little bit of fatigue creeping in with Liverpool recently, and whether there's a bit of a wobble there. The Everton game, late goal they conceded, really poor against Wolves. The draw at Aston Villa. They've got, I think the next week is massive, because they've got obviously City away at the weekend. Arsenal play Nottingham Forest next Wednesday on the same night that Liverpool play Newcastle. So there's a lot that can go on in the next few days, which could actually decide whether we've got a title race or whether Liverpool pull clear. But I do think there's a bit of mileage left in it, because they do look a little bit heavy in their legs, and Arsenal just need to keep with them, really, keep the pace.